we're on an upward tick of optimism and of creating and birthing and bringing into existence this beautiful new way of being in the world. That being said, that doesn't come without these shifts and this rockiness that we're all feeling. So, my team of guides has been hammering this in for several years that what we're seeing around us, even though we may look around and say, oh, that's really scary. And honestly, it's whatever kind of front you see it on, if it's politically, if it's health wise, if it's someone's job, if it's like family dynamics, relationships, everything just feels a little different. All of that is necessary. It's like when you plant a garden and you have to till the soil, you have to turn everything up a little bit in order to have it be its optimal abundance and to grow as beautifully as it can. So it's weird to say, but as things devolve and look gross in the world, that's actually to be celebrated because it's proof that we are on that upward path of bringing in this beautiful new path of light.
I'm very pleased to have Heather Mays with us today. Heather is a channel and she has come to share a very important message with us today. Heather, thank you so much for being my guest. I'm super excited to talk to you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. So thank you for the opportunity, not just to connect, but to maybe go deep and expand and give some hope and connection to anyone who's listening and watching us too. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, thank you because hope and connection are always wonderful things to bring to the conversation. So tell me a little bit about this message that you wanted to bring. You are a channel, so you can tap into kind of beings on the other side and bring back some important messages.
I think we talked a little bit before. It's no secret that at this point in time in our reality, in our world today, things feel a little bumpy. They feel a little spicy, I like to say. And, there's so much around reflected back to us in different things in the world that look to a lot of us like chaos and disruption and this absolute dissolution of what has been our norm. And those who are familiar with maybe you call it ascension, enlightenment, spirituality, we're on an upward tick of optimism and of creating and birthing and bringing into existence this beautiful new way of being in the world. That being said, that doesn't come without these shifts and this rockiness that we're all feeling. So, my team of guides has been hammering this in for several years that what we're seeing around us, even though we may look around and say, oh, that's really scary. And honestly, it's whatever kind of front you see it on, if it's politically, if it's health wise, if it's someone's job, if it's like family dynamics, relationships, everything just feels a little different. All of that is necessary. It's like when you plant a garden and you have to till the soil, you have to turn everything up a little bit in order to have it be its optimal abundance and to grow as beautifully as it can. So it's weird to say, but as things devolve and look gross in the world, that's actually to be celebrated because it's proof that we are on that upward path of bringing in this beautiful new path of light. And so, for anyone who is feeling a little shaky, a little uncertain, because the way we maybe saw ourselves, the way we framed our own existence, our reality 5, 6 years ago, even a couple years ago, all of that has changed so dramatically that for those who aren't fully embodied in their authenticity, it can be hard to figure out where you are. So I like to always picture that. I didn't take dance as a girl. I was a little too awkward for that, but many may have who are listening. And there was always the need to have like the focal point. Like if you would do a pirouette and turn around, you needed to have something to look at so that you could find your balance and your stability. And I feel like our authenticity and what I call, and my team of guides calls your divine radiant light, that absolute spark of your soul within you that is always there with you, regardless of what job you're in, what relationship you're in, what house you live in, where you are in the world, or what's going on around you. When you can tune into that and have it like at the ready, and you know where it is, no matter what is trying to pull you off of that center, that is how we weather the storms that are coming. And that is how we walk confidently and comfortably through so much change, because we're not done with the change. There's more coming. There's more things being shaken loose in the world. And my mission is to empower and embolden people to find that spark within themselves, because we're going to be pulled off our center. That's also just part of being human and coming into this existence. And then you add on all the conditions and criteria around us of things being in chaos, for lack of a better word. And if we can't bring ourselves to that, we start to feel fractured. We start to feel almost disembodied. And I know we talk a lot in these communities about out of body experiences. We start to have that, but not necessarily in a good way. We just start to feel like, oh, I don't even know where I am. I don't know who I am. I don't know how to bring me to this. And bringing each of us in our authenticity is the part that helps bring in this beautiful new world. So I like to picture us all as these little puzzle pieces. And if you're supposed to be like the corner piece on the puzzle, but you're over here pretending to be something in the center, then the picture's not going to look as beautiful as it can. So we all have to be exactly who we're here to be, and stepping into that level of authenticity takes courage, and it takes grit, and it takes tenacity, and it takes meeting yourself in that space time and time again. But then once you get there and you can find it and you can navigate by that and not be pulled off your center, everything else elevates, everything else softens, everything else gets this bright, soft glow. And no matter what obstacles come our way, we can face them a little bit better.
And have you received any messages about what we can expect to see coming our way?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of different, I'll call them paths of potential. So, nothing is firmly set in stone as far as a timeline. I kind of see it. My team shows me almost like a harp where there's all the different strings, and different strings can be played together to make different songs, and different notes can be combined. I think we see a lot of unsteadiness in, no matter what country you live in, there's just something about these structures, and whether it's a political structure, a financial structure, um, education, all these different sectors that have consolidated power, for lack of a better word. That isn't the model that works in this beautiful, bright new world. So all of that has to kind of unravel. And I think as we see that unraveling, we're also getting this supplemental kind of boost energetically in frequency, in light. So I know some channelers have talked about kind of a flash of light, and I'm not sure that everyone witnesses in it that way. I think we all experience it. And it is this shift of almost like opening a window. I'm kind of picturing like double French doors. I think because we were talking about vacation earlier, I'm seeing like, oh, this beautiful, we open these beautiful doors, and it's just this fresh air and this new texture to the world that we have. And those who are stuck in old patterns of limiting beliefs, in old patterns of things that aren't working, in, like I talked about, those old patterns of not being your authentic self, you may not experience or have access to this beautiful new way of being at the start. But the more people who are able to experience that frequency and that light and shift in the way that is needed, they kind of weigh the scales so that everybody eventually gets to experience this beautiful way of being in the world. But it does not come without challenge, and it does not come without each of us needing to face the skeletons in our own closet, so to speak. And that is the work that gets us to this beautiful thing. So I think in the next 2 to 3 years, things will look so dramatically different and feel just different in a way that is it's yours to choose. It's kind of like having 2 tickets at the fair, and I can choose to ride this ride or I can choose to have this experience over here. So continuing to set your expectation and work through my team is saying now too, work through any way that fear shows up for you. That doesn't mean you like, "Oh, I can't look at it, I can't hear it, I don't wanna know about it." But ask, "What is that showing me in myself?" If I feel fear about something, if I feel discomfort about something, that means you have a little piece of that still in you that's resonant within you. So, what can you heal within yourself so that you show up whole in the world, not in a state of fear, not in a state of lack, not in a state of judgment, but being able to show up as that highest and best version of you, and then you are essentially broadcasting more of that into the world so that others have the opportunity to come to that place within themselves too. But fear is one of the main gateways for us where we've just got to say, you know what? I'm going to rise to the occasion. I'm going to face my fear. I'm going to stare it down, and I'm not going to let it intimidate me, but I'm also not going to run away from it. I'm going to face whatever it is. And that could be the hard conversation. It could be leaving the job you don't like. It could be moving across the country where you're like, oh, I don't really know. Whatever it is that finds your highest excitement, pursue that and go for that and start learning to incorporate and inhabit these beautiful higher frequencies and learning to turn away from those things that kind of drag us down energetically.
What I'm hearing from you is it's more than a physical change. It's more of a spiritual, who we are, kind of our frequency. But there's also been a lot of physical changes happening in the world in the past 4 or 5 years. Are those physical changes the catalyst for the
Mhm.
spiritual changes within us?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say catalyst is one way to describe it. I think they are also the necessary way that we process the energy. So, what it is to be here and be human is to be in a physical vessel. And in that way, we are the alchemizers or the processors of everything that's around us energetically. So as something comes up, sinking into the physical body or the physical external world, like we're saying, the climate changes, temperature, things like that, navigating through that and almost working through your own issue with it, your own heaviness with it, your own gravity with it to kind of clean it up. My team is saying, like, clean up your side of the street in any way that you can. And for a lot of us, that is presenting as physical things. So I think catalyst, yes, they're also the necessary pathway through, and they are hand in hand, both experiences, because a lot of times we'll talk about ascension or spirituality as this kind of like even when I'm gesturing it, that's kind of how we think of it. It's out here. It's this big thing. It's like a bubble or like a balloon that we're attached to. But really, the challenge is embodying that and having embodiment and bringing those higher frequencies through. And we can only do that when our physical vessels can expand in a way to let us hold that light and hold that energy. So I don't know if that really answered your question, but it's kind of all combined and together. And we don't disengage from the physical aspect to then get higher or more spiritual or enlightened or ascended. It's kind of the reverse. It's bringing it through and letting it come through us.
Tell me a little bit about you and how this all got started for you. Have you always had these gifts, or when did you realize that these were gifts that you did have?
Well, I would say instead of gifts, I'm going to say abilities because I think anybody can craft these abilities, and it's not just like a gift that is restricted to a few different people. But for me, it I've kind of always had an awareness of my team of guides, even from when I was a little girl. And I had a shared death experience when my sister passed away when I was 6 years old. She came to me in a dream and kind of showed me the afterlife. in the way that you would maybe explain it to a kid. And since that time, I was able to then see across the veil, and I can kind of walk with someone as they're transitioning, as their soul leaves a physical vessel and goes to spirit. And that's just kind of always been on board. So having that on board from such an early age kind of made the rest of the world like, I don't know. It's just, it vibes different. It hits different, as the kids say. It has a different frequency for me. So I also could communicate with pets and animals and trees and plants. And as a little kid, I didn't know that was anything unusual until I went to school and would start telling people and realize that I got, labeled as the weird kid, or, nobody would want to hang out with me on the playground because I would just conversationally say things like, well, what did your guide, like, I don't think I called them guides, but I would have said like your people or your team. What did your team tell you overnight? And they're like, okay, weird girl, I don't have a team. I also had from childhood this ability to do, I know you've probably heard about the life review process a ton of times, right? I could do that at night in a small degree. That doesn't mean I was crossing over, I was having near death experiences, but I would have this dream about being in a movie theater, and I could see projected on the movie screen everything that had happened that day for me. And I would like go back through and review it and say, okay, if I had raised my hand in class instead of like I knew the answer, but I didn't raise my hand in class, here's how that would have looked different. Here's how I could have made a friend with the new girl at school or whatever. And then I would see the next day, I would see things that were coming up for me out maybe even a few weeks, and be able to, it's weird, but be able to kind of watch it, but also jump into the screen and try different things on. So I could jump in and say, okay, if somebody is coming here and I do this, how does it look? And the dreams would start off in black and white for future. And then as an event got closer, they would start to be colored more vibrantly. And then as we would approach an actual event of something happening, I would be able to change and tweak it less and less. So I think that was for me an understanding, like I mentioned earlier about the harp strings and the different paths of potentiality. That was an early lesson for me on how we can choose and shape our own reality. And not that we're all consciously plugged into that every night. And I wish I could do that now in dreams. That was something that kind of just happened as a kid. I don't do it as often now, but just understanding the flexibility of our reality, and that we are at play and we're interacting with it in ways that maybe we aren't really taught traditionally. So I had all of that on board. And then in my like later in life, I started pursuing, okay, I was in a career that I didn't super love and wanted to use the abilities for my friends and friends of friends and all of that. And it just kind of blossomed. And I took classes and developed it and worked with mentors. And over a period of a number of years, just brought all these different things on board, starting with pets, because I thought, like, my logic was, oh, I'm going to work with the animals because then I don't have to deal with like people being cranky or weird or uncomfortable. And generally every pet that I would work with as an animal communicator, their person would have some piece of a story that they also needed help with. So it was kind of like I got punked because I thought I was going to look at like the cute puppies and the kittens, and it would be like people who had these things they needed help with too. So it all kind of evolved as it needed to. And so yeah, that's it. Long-winded answer. But it's been on board for a while, but also I've developed it over a number of years.
How do your guides connect with you? Do you hear their voice? Is it like the, how does it happen for you?
Yeah, generally it is a combination of hearing and seeing. Um, they will also use a lot of things in my environment to reflect messages back to me. So one kind of fun story, when I was, I don't know, in my early 20s, I had actually asked to turn off the guidance because I had had a number of precognitive psychic dreams that were really disturbing, car accidents that people would be in, plane crashes, and I really didn't know what to do about it because you can't just tell somebody that's going to happen. Or I couldn't have called an airline and said, hey, this is like it didn't seem purposeful for me, and it was really disturbing, some of the dreams. So I kind of asked for that to be turned down, and it was. And then after a number of things happened in my life that made me feel like, hey, I don't think I'm here doing the human thing the way I'm supposed to. Maybe I should have kept that team on board. I kind of worked my way back to working with the guides, and as I was switching that back on, there was one day I came home from work and had a message on. We didn't have iPhones or cell phones as much back then, so I had like an answering machine, and the message on the answering machine was this very distorted, gravelly, kind of scary, ghosty sounding voice, this gentleman that just said, help me, over and over. And I thought, okay, I thought I didn't want the scary stuff anymore. And here I am with more scary stuff. But for some reason, I thought, if this is like someone who really does need help, I need to let him know he didn't get, like, maybe he was calling a friend or a family member. And I felt like I needed to let him know he didn't get whoever he needed. So I called the number back, and no one answered, but there was an outgoing message that was a Bible quote, Psalm 91:11, he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. And I had been working with like guides and angels, and I thought, okay, I think that's a sign, but it all feels weird. And I think I probably threw the phone across the room and called back, still trying to reach who I thought had called me. And every time I called, it would always only be the outgoing message, Psalm 91:11. And he said that in the message, 91:11, he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. I would have friends call, "Hey, call this number." They wouldn't get the message. It would just ring. But when I would call, I would get the message. So I thought, okay, okay, I see what we're doing. So they use my physical environment to mirror things back to me. And then I started seeing the number 91:11 everywhere. I could randomly open a book and it would flip to page 91 or page 11, or something on the page would say 91:11, or I would see that quote somewhere. And it was just this kind of like, we're here, Heather. We're all around you. This like absolute immersion back into the world. Maybe would freak some people out, but I thought it was kind of fun at the time. And but then since developing that, still decades ago, it they communicate with me primarily. Um, I hear them a lot, but I can also see images. And other than reflecting things back in the physical environment. And one of the big ones for me, I don't know if others have mentioned this too, but songs, like they will use songs on the radio that come up at just the right time, that are like echoing back a message or giving me a message, all different things like that. And I work with people now to teach them to connect with their guides and do the same kind of thing in whatever way. It's going to work differently for everybody, but finding out what works for them, and just having this, as we were talking about, to answer your initial question about what's coming, having this sense that we're not alone in this. We have this support, this ethereal, otherworldly, not with us support. But I like to classify guides kind of like if we were playing a football game. So we're on the field. We're the players on the field. And we can see from that particular angle, right? I can see if somebody's running at me. I can see where I can maybe get around somebody. But players on the field also have a team of coaches on the sideline, and they have their own perspective. And then there are like the higher seats, or the owners in the club box, that have this top down view of, oh, I can see 40 yards out, you're going to have a problem. So that's how I work and think of guides, is they just have a different perspective than we do, because we're in the game. It's right in front of us. Our field of view is limited. When we connect in with our guides, we have this expanded perspective where we can say, okay, I see that's coming up for me. We still have the ability to, you could still run into the thing that's coming at you on the football field if you wanted to. So we still have the ultimate say in what we're doing, but we have this expanded perspective where we can see so much more of life and learn how it's all integrated and how we can navigate it. So we're not alone as we are approaching all of these things that are challenging us and expanding us almost in equal measure.
That's very comforting to know that we're not alone because I
Mhm.
feel like sometimes it can feel like we are, especially when we're headed into the unknown. It's
Yeah.
very fearful, and we feel like maybe we need someone to lean on, and we can take comfort in knowing that our guides are with us at all times. How can we connect with our guides for those of us like me, for example? I
Yeah.
don't know how to connect with my guide. And sometimes I feel like maybe there was a message, but then I don't trust myself enough. So, how can I
Mhm.
differentiate my own inner chatter from my guides?
Yes, and that you said it, I don't trust. Like that is one of the most challenging aspects to learning, and I think to see it also as something that just takes practice. So there are a couple different techniques to try, and I think the very first one is just the curiosity about it. Can I connect? How can I connect? If someone is there, in what way would you like to work with them? Like, I think we also feel that we're kind of put upon, or like, I'll just surrender to whatever. And we sit in a space and say, okay, bring the messages on. But just like any relationship, it takes work and it takes partnership. So asking for something specific is a good way to start. So I like to guide people to do yes or no questions sometimes. So if job opportunity A is better aligned for me as a soul, give me this kind of sign. And allowing things to come through the physical world as a sign is often that gets us out of our doubt. Because if, for instance, you say, okay, I'm going to use a different example. If I should go on a date with this particular person, show me, and be very specific about what you're asking. Show me a black feather in the next 3 days. So we haven't just said, anytime I see a black feather, it's going to mean I should go on a date with this person. We've narrowed down the parameters. We've asked for something, and make it fair, that, and don't be someone who has like black feathers behind them, or you always see like that's your thing. Make it something unique and allow for enough time, but put a limit on it as well for something to occur. So then trusting, if you see the black feather and you go out with that person, what experience did you have? And you've started almost like neural pathways in your brain. You've started mapping out, this is how the communication could work for me. And I like to start with the physical aspect because, again, if you came across a black feather, you didn't put it there. You didn't run out ahead of yourself and go buy one at Hobby Lobby or something and stick it in your driveway. You actually came upon it. So that can be a way too. And then I would say too, if the issue is trust, just looking at, in what other ways do you not trust yourself? Because even though we're talking about a team of guides, and external to us, wisdom, our higher self is always on board as well. So if there is, just anything in life, like, where do you have that resistance to trust and surrender, and working through that, and just learning to navigate the subtlety of it too. I will also say, intuitive wisdom, whether it is from your guides or your higher self, or you just classify it as the universe is communicating with me, it's always the whisper, not the shout. So it's always going to be subtle. It's always going to feel like, did I just make that up because that's the answer I wanted to hear, or that? So learning to make that distinction with yourself as well is just part of the work of learning how to build that particular muscle. It's just like going to the gym. You don't start off lifting really heavy weights. You start small and you build up your muscle and your endurance, and then you continue on. But yeah, it's for anyone who's interested in it, it's a really wonderful way to build a different perspective of your relationship with yourself as well. And to feel, so many of us crave that, like you said, to feel that connection to, yeah, I'm here being human. And some days are incredibly hard and challenging and just rough. But to know that that's not it, and to know that there's probably a lesson in whatever that is, whatever challenge I'm facing. And if I can phone a friend, or if I can call in some kind of assistance to help me see around those corners and see what that lesson might have been, it's so empowering to allow yourself to have that other guidance.
Is there a message that your guides would like to share with the audience today?
Yeah, let me get out of the way a little bit to let them come through. Because so you asked like where I connect with them, and when I'm channeling, I kind of um sounds strange, but I will shift my energy to be a little bit to the side so that they can come through and use my physical vessel in whatever way that they are going to. So give me just a second to kind of adjust and step out of the frame, if you will, for that. Hello, bright and beautiful beings. We are so delighted to connect with you today. And we feel that those of you who are listening or watching or experiencing this transmission are so ready to meet yourselves. And maybe you've met yourself and turned away. Maybe you've met unpreferred parts of yourself that scared you, frightened you, disappointed you. We would say, remember your beauty, remember your spark, remember your truth for things that challenge you. While they may not be preferred, they are the polishing of the diamond that exists within you. And we can see only your radiance, and we can see only your effort and your pure desire to be better, to be less troubled, to be enlightened, to be uplifted. And as you are uplifting others, make sure that you also invest in yourself, invest in your own bank of love, we would say. Invest in that which brings you joy, for it is the frequency of joy that is being seeded and expanded on your planet right now. And that does not mean there will be no challenges, for it is the challenges that allow you to learn and grow, but you can meet them with a better aspect, with a better attitude, with a better preparation of your own energy in which to step up to the bat, as you may say in your terminology, and hit a home run. And we would expand on that a little more to say every time you're at bat, it is the swinging that is the victory. It is not connecting with the ball. So allow yourselves to have times where you do get things wrong, times where you are letting someone else down, times where you have let yourself down, times when others have let you down. That is all part of the human experience. And it is this sharpening and alchemizing and transmuting of all of that energy that allows you to rise. And you rise together on your planet when you step out of judgment. So, when you step out of judgment of self, when you step out of judgment of others, when you step out of judgment of what you witness around you, instead, find that aspect within yourself that needs to judge and ask why. What is it within me that I am unsettled about in this moment? And how can I heal it? How can I meet this aspect of myself with love and with grace? We would also say, from our perspective, that we see you all doing so much better than you give yourselves credit for. Sometimes some of you are so very harsh and sad, and we understand why. The conditions and parameters in which you exist on this planet can be limiting, can feel limiting, can feel like you are constricted and constrained. Remember, dear ones, how absolutely unlimited you are. Yes, as a soul, yes, as a spirit, but even as that soul and spirit inhabiting this physical environment and this physical body, give yourselves the space and grace to witness your most amazing and brilliant awesomeness, you might say. We thank you in advance for all that you are doing to bring love to those around you and to bring love to yourself. And we are so honored to partner with each of you and witness you on this day.
Would it be okay if I ask the question?
Yes, please. We would love to answer.
You said that the planet is being sprinkled with like seeds of joy and it's a frequency. How can we move through this frequency? You said there was going to be challenges. How can we move through up into this higher frequency and through the challenges um, as seamlessly as possible while staying out of fear?
We would say the job is not to stay out of fear. The job is to face the fear and work through it in whatever way that you can. So then we understand the question might be, well, what way would that be? And it will vary for each of you in each encounter of fear. But fear is not to be avoided or shunned. We would say to allow yourself to ask the question, in what way is this helping me? What can I learn from this? Where is the lesson? Rather than saying, as some of you may feel tempted to, why? Why does this happen to me? Why? Again? What now? Those kinds of questions that you frequently ask yourself. Come with the curiosity of a child. Many of you are aware of, if a child asks, why is the sky blue? One answer will not suffice. They will ask that, but why? But why is it this? But why is it that? Have that same curiosity with your challenges, with your obstacles. In doing that, you allow different opportunities to shake loose. You allow different perspectives to become available. You remove the limitation of looking at something as only a challenge, only an obstacle. When you say, what is the lesson in it for me? You expand out into this realm of possibility, and then allowing yourself to walk through that lesson, expand in the way that you need to, and allow your physical body, your emotional body, and your mental body to come into alignment with what is needed to change that fear into current courage.
We all have our own, I guess, team of guides. Um, are our guides higher versions of ourselves, or are they soul family or galactic family? How are we related to our guides?
That is an excellent question. We would say potentially all of the above. For each individual, it may be a little different. A soul chooses who they would like to be on their team. So at the point of your phrase of reincarnation, we would say of choosing your next physical experience, you draw to you and solicit, if you will, for lack of a better phrase. Some of you may be familiar with a want ad or putting a job posting out there. It is similar in the realm between realms in the other side. When you are choosing a physical incarnation or a lifetime, you will call to you those who you feel can support you in different ways. And so that may be the individuals you choose to incarnate around you in your physical body, your family, who you surround yourself with, your friends, your enemies, even. Anyone you encounter in the physical lifetime is part of your soul's journey, as are your guides. You may feel that you would like to have easier access to the angelic realms. You may feel that in a profession that you're pursuing in this lifetime, or in a relationship that you're pursuing in this lifetime, or even in a passion that you're chasing down in this lifetime, a galactic guide and their specific frequency and their specific wisdom may be of benefit to you. So much of this work occurs as you are choosing your incarnation and choosing your lifetime. You choose who you would like to coach you, as the channel referred to earlier, who you would like to be able to tap into and call and guide you. Your higher self is always available for you as one of those aspects of wisdom. And then your team can also be subject to change based on the decisions that you make in your physical lifetime. So your team is not necessarily set with the same number of guides or the same specific guides. You can call on others as needed as your life changes, but primarily those who are with you for your lifetime are those who you have contracted with and agreed to work with, and agreed to, we would even say, sometimes have challenge you and expand you in ways that, as a soul, you may say, I will be facing a potential challenge and I'd like a little help working around that, facing it with more courage, with more grace. Can you be available for me to connect to in that moment? And that is the kind of relationship that you have with your team of guides. We would also say that for some of you, do not feel discouraged if you are not aware of your guides or have not had this innate knowing that you have them. A soul can choose if it is what they prefer or what they wish to experience in this lifetime to experience not having that connection. That is also a valid experience and a valid choice. So that is not the case for every soul, but we feel that we wanted to call that to your attention as someone listening may have that experience.
What do we need to know about the future of the earth and mankind?
Have courage with what you witness around you and question what it is that you witness around you. We would say it is turning the corner. You are turning the corner into a time where it is more important for you to feel into something than to think about something. So, what we mean by that is using your body as an instrument of truth. And for some of you to do this, you will need to work on regulating your nervous system so that your default mode is one of safety. Many of you, through the experiences of your collective, through your personal experiences, do not easily access that safety. So we would advise you to, in the way that you can, work on that, work on getting to that point for yourself. And then once you are a clear vessel who has a default mode of feeling safe, you can then tune into any experience around you and know it from within instead of knowing it from your logical mind. Know it from within as an opportunity, as something that is preferred, as something that is good or something that is bad. And as you are changing, as the earth is changing, this is the new vocabulary for you to feel through your body, to experience through your bodies. This will also lead to and is influenced by the broadening and the increasing of frequencies that we spoke about. So, as you are finding your footsteps on any new path, knowing that limitation is only that which you have placed in your mind, and allowing yourself to pursue bigger, to be better, to expand out, regardless of what may be in your world reflected back to you. For there are levels and layers of programming and things that as souls you've chosen to witness, you've chosen to put in place for either yourselves at a personal level or yourselves at a collective level. And that does not mean just because you witness it that it is true. Feeling into the vessel of your human body to see whether something is true and living from the space of your heart can be how you navigate that which is coming. And we would not be predictive upon that which is coming other than to say it is in a lot of ways more expansive than you can imagine in this time. And to step into that expansion requires your own personal growth and your own personal missions. And that will look different for each of you.
Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience today?
When you come together in spaces such as this and watch programs such as this, and have discussions such as this, you are contributing to the raising of their frequency. For you are triggering your imagination, you are triggering your soul's wisdom, you are connecting into, as you may say, your soul family in its physical embodiment and its spiritual embodiment. Continue to follow those crumbs of things that excite you and interest you. And there is a reason that you are called to pursue these topics. Develop those within yourself. Seek out the wisdom that guides your heart and live fully, fearlessly, for you are so much brighter than you realize and so much more beautiful than you all realize. And we would say, be loved, be in love, and simply be the love. And we thank you for this opportunity to connect with you.
Thank you for connecting. I appreciate it very much.
Be blessed.
That was
Okay.
remarkable. When you do that, you said you kind of step away. Are you still present?
Um, yes, in kind of the way, so the way I kind of think of it is almost if you're swimming underwater and you kind of hear above you what's happening. Like I'm there, I'm hearing it, witnessing it. I will forget it as soon as we're done talking. Like I'll have to watch it back and see what was there. But, or somebody will tell me, usually how it happens is somebody will say, "Hey, you said this thing that was really awesome." I'm like, I didn't, but tell me more about it. Um, but I feel tethered to it, but unable to kind of step in. Where if you notice, there are a couple of times where like words don't come through as easily. I will feel like there's more of a solidity to that because I feel like they can only use what's available to them. Heaven help. They can only use what's available to them in my physical vessel. So like vocabulary words, sometimes I kind of feel a reaching or a scanning. It's weird for that. But yeah, I'm there, not there. Another, I've seen others describe it as kind of being in the backseat of the car while somebody else is driving. For me, there's kind of a muffled quality to it too. Um, but yeah, and the longer duration I go, kind of the farther away I go as well. Cause it's like, I don't know if Heather is just like, "I'll see you later. I'm gonna go grab some coffee or something." So yeah, it's interesting though. Well, I hope it was a lovely message. It felt good. I feel it. Like I don't understand or hear the words, but I feel the emotion behind it. Yeah.
It was beautiful, very beautiful, and
Good.
I'm excited to have you hear it when you're
Yeah,
listening
me
to the video.
too. Yeah. I'll be so excited. Yeah. Oh,
So
that's
you
funny.
said sometimes it kind of feels like you checked out, went to go get coffee. Is it almost like you're having an out of body experience? Are you having an actual experience?
I feel like I'm kind of kept in like a stasis. So I'm not off having an experience, or I haven't yet done that. Um, but I kind of feel like I'm in a cocoon of being restored some way. And I've actually asked and worked with my team to say, okay, if you're taking me offline, so to speak, for a minute, let that be a time where I'm like getting restored. I'm like at the energy spa, like work on the chakras, do some things. So I feel like there's an aspect of me that has stepped out almost into this little cocoon to just be kept safe and renewed and restored in that way. But I'm not off like having other adventures or um like the dream state where you may have different imagery coming through. I'm not taken offline quite that way. I wish I could like go grab a lavender latte or something. That'd be great and come back, get my nails done or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's this in between state of because there's like, I don't see a lot of channels talk about this, but it's this combination of being incredibly grounded. Like my physical vessel has to be here and I have to be really open to hold the space of what's coming through, but also like this aspect of self that jumps out. So it's kind of this pulling between. I'm picturing, I don't know if you've seen the Harry Potter movies, but where they're kind of traveling through time and space and if they do it wrong, they get, I think the word was splinched, like they get body parts stuck or something in that in between world. It's just this kind of, I don't know, this weird expansion, but also incredibly grounded at the same time. That's probably the worst answer ever, but there you go.
I think it's a good answer. I think it's a beautiful ability, and it's pretty interesting to know that it's available for everyone to tap into if we just
Yeah.
learn how.
Mm-hmm.
And if my audience wanted to reach out to you, Heather, how can they find you?
Oh, thanks for that. Yeah, you can get everything about me at heathermays.com, Mays on the last name. And there's any number of ways. I have some online courses. I do sacred art that is channeled, where instead of me talking, it's me doing art in that channeled state. And private appointments as well, all kinds of things. So would love to hear from anybody who wants to connect. So if I can support you in any way on your journey through this human life that we all choose, I would love to connect with you.
If you had one message you wanted to leave with the audience, what would it be?
Believe in yourself. I think we live in a world that tries to really make us feel like we are so less amazing than we really are. And but that helps us sharpen and hone and build that muscle of confidence. So believing in yourself and realizing that anything is possible is, as cheesy and corny as that sounds, that's what I like to stoke the flame of that in people because it's absolutely true. Put your mind to it, you can do it. Whether that is spiritual based or just, really practical in life. So everybody is so much, I think my team said it too. I feel like a kernel of that. You're so much more radiant and beautiful, and I would say resilient as well than we're led to believe sometimes, or than we let ourselves believe. So that's it.
That is a beautiful message. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for being my guest. This has been a great honor for me.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been such a joy to connect. I loved the conversation. So thank you.
Thank you for being here. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you being here and supporting my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing if you enjoy near death experiences and other spiritually transformative stories. It helps the algorithm know that this information is useful and push it out to more people. And that's the goal, to get as many people to know that we are eternal spiritual beings and that we never die. Our bodies might die, but our essence will never die. And I want people to live with less fear. Let's all spread the word. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that little notification bell so you get all the notifications when my videos post. Thank you for all of your support. I'm sending love to you.